I think it was just the freedom that I saw in San Francisco that you just don't really have, or I didn't have. I remember when I saw two men holding hands walking down the street, I almost just stopped. Like, you just don't see that. That was so foreign to me, just to be like that open and that casual, that public. It's not a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal. But growing up, it was, I didn't even know in Modesto if you would see that now.
That was Traci Ramos of Boozenation Podcast. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco, a podcast all about the artists, activists, and small businesses that make this city what it is. I'll step out of the way in this intro, but I did want to mention that Traci and I recorded at Mission Bar, which just celebrated its 25th anniversary. For some reason, it was the first time we've recorded this podcast at that spot. My favorite memory out of so many over the years at Mission Bar is the time that I joined up to celebrate a friend's last day at a job that she hated. We had our happy hour drinks like any other day. But then, someone called in a bomb threat to the nearby Walgreens, and we were all quarantined inside the bar for the next 3 or 4 hours. It was unforgettable. Anyway, here's Traci.
Hi, I'm Traci Ramos. I am a native Californian. I'm a San Franciscan. I say San Franciscan. I'm obviously not native San Franciscan, but I spent my entire adult life in San Francisco, so I feel a little bit of street cred when I say I'm San Franciscan. So.
I like to say I corrected the mistakes of my parents by not already being here.
Yeah, no, I grew up in a pretty small town, Riverbank, California, which is right outside Modesto, California. Really sleepy, small agriculture
farm
area.
Yeah.
Still is. There's a lot of dairy, a lot of cattle. It's now a pretty big sprawl. Just a big suburban.
Is it like suburban
sprawl.
Modesto now?
Yeah.
Like it ate it up?
Yeah, it's almost.
Yeah.
Like growing up, there were like definitely like here's the small town and then here's Modesto, and then you had a lot of orchards and pastures, and now it's kind of just come together with a lot of concrete.
Right.
So the two towns are
strip
almost
malls
together.
And things like that. Yeah.
A lot of strip malls.
Yeah. America.
And there we go.
It's America.
Yeah. It's interesting when I go back because sometimes I get lost.
Oh.
Which is really weird because the landmarks have changed so fast, and technically, like, there's no hills, there's no like valleys and dips and weird turns. It's all grids. So I find that interesting that sometimes I do get lost going back home because just it's the sprawl. Just it all looks alike.
Right.
So.
And is it one of those places, maybe you relate to this, maybe you don't, like when you left, was it everything was like 4-digit addresses, and now it's like 5-digit addresses because like the streets just keep going? They're like 17,423. You're like,
yeah, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So growing up there, I was just like, there's got to be a bigger city,
yeah.
a bigger city, and I moved to San Francisco in the early 90s, and I went to San Francisco State.
Okay.
So that's what brought me to San Francisco, and I was just like, I'm going to San Francisco State, and yeah, I've been here for the most part since then. I mean, I've lived other places which were like out of the country.
Okay.
But for the most part, I've always come back to San Francisco.
We'll talk about all of that for sure in depth. But I want to go back to a little bit of like, why was your family there? Like, were they farmers and ranchers, or why was your family in the valley?
Oh, my dad's side of the family are actually from the East Bay.
Okay.
Like a lot of Fremont, Newark. There's a large Puerto Rican community there.
Okay.
His family moved to Modesto because he had grandparents. That kind of just went that way. My mom's side of the family, that's another kind of a migration story. My grandmother's side came via California through Mexico and Spain.
Okay.
And then my grandfather is native.
Okay.
So.
Native from like the western part of what is now the United States, or
he's native as Cherokee.
okay, central.
So the Cherokee Nation, you know, that's a big, long story.
Right.
How he and his family wound up in California is not really talked about because my grandfather's mother, so that would be my great-grandmother.
Got it.
Had 3 sets of kids from 3 different men.
Okay.
So back in the day, that was really looked down upon.
I don't know that it is now.
It's not
But
super
also,
cool now.
who cares?
So not really a lot is known about. He never really talked about it.
I just see that as your great grandmother had a lot of babies.
Well, she had a lot of fun, and she didn't give a shit either. So that's,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my grandfather has half brothers and sisters, and then I guess you would say full brothers and sisters. I don't know how that works.
The ones that came from the same 2 parents?
Yes.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's on your mom's side. Mm-hmm. Which you said also came through Mexico and Spain.
Yeah, my grandmother is Spanish.
Okay.
And then her family migrated through Mexico.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a bunch of people. That's great. I love it. It's like, I'm imagining the family tree.
Yes.
And then we get down. Do you have siblings?
No, I'm an only child.
Okay. So
Yep.
you grew up in the 80s for sure. 70s?
Yeah.
You don't have to date yourself.
I'm Gen X, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Michelle, too.
Yeah. The Gen Xers.
Yeah, that's why we get along.
Heck yeah.
So I want to know, before we get to your actual move, which sounds like it was, like you wanted to be here and you want to go to SF State, but like as a kid, Modesto is not far. Like, did you come to the city? Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
No. We did go visit more of the East Bay, like Fremont and Hayward, because my dad has a lot of his family there.
Right.
But that's really as far as we made it. We didn't really come into the city.
What did you think of the East Bay as a kid? Really?
The East Bay, it was a little bit kind of like Modesto. It's a lot of, strip malls and tract homes.
Sure.
So it was a little bit more crowded, a little bit noisier, but kind of the same.
Right.
Yeah, a little bit of the same.
A version.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like closer to the ocean or the bay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's hear a little bit about your decision to move to SF. What was it about the city?
So the decision to move to SF was to continue my education, because I went to San Francisco State, graduated with a communication major.
Oh shit, BECA?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Super
and you're really using
general,
that now.
Super broad.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was either like Sac State or San Francisco State, and I just wanted San Francisco State so badly. I wanted to be in San Francisco. I really just was like, that was it. Like,
what was it about San Francisco that drew you?
San Francisco
especially versus Sacramento, let's say.
Well, Sacramento, again, when you're looking at the Central Valley, you've got Sacramento, Modesto, and maybe like say Fresno if you're going that, and it's all pretty similar.
Yeah.
It was pretty similar. San Francisco, I spent a lot of time driving to San Francisco to see shows and concerts, right? That's what we did.
Let's dig into that.
Yeah.
What shows and where?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Pre-earthquake, the Fillmore. I saw Duran Duran at the Fillmore.
No
yes,
way.
Yes, I did.
Amazing.
I know.
Was that like as they were blowing up?
No. This was after their heyday.
Okay.
This was after their heyday.
Okay. Still though, that's intimate.
It's very intimate.
That's right.
Yes.
That's amazing.
A lot of Chris Isaac, like at Slim's, the Omni in Oakland.
Yep.
The Black Crows in Oakland before they blew up. Oh, the Counting Crows before they blew up.
All the crows.
All the crows. Counting and Black.
The Counting were Berkeley, right? They were local. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, and then of course, the Greek, which is so great. I love the Greek in Berkeley. Like Brian Ferry, Elvis Costello.
Whoa.
I know. know. Even like 10,000 Maniacs.
No way.
B-52s were up in Davis.
Okay.
Gosh. But that's what we did. That's why I worked at a record store, and we would just get tickets and just come to the city.
Oh shit. There's an opening also.
Yes.
You worked at a record store back in
Modesto.
Modesto.
And
Okay.
so,
in the 80s sounds like.
in the 90s.
90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would happen is we would get these notices, right, about like, you know, B-52s are going on sale Sunday. So we knew. So we would just get in line on Sunday morning, and
You
like
knew
we
ahead
never,
of the general public?
Yes.
Oh.
So we never saw a show, you know, past 10 rows.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. And then we got in trouble because we pulled tickets.
Oh yeah. Wow.
We totally got in
What are you
trouble.
supposed to do with that?
Exactly.
Like, come on.
Yeah, we almost got that machine taken out of our store.
Oh yeah, the kids in the suburbs.
Oh, we did. We pulled tickets for, I think it was like a terrible Bon Jovi.
Oh.
Yeah, we got in trouble for Bon Jovi. It
Is that
wasn't
redundant?
even.
Terrible Bon Jovi? No, sorry.
Yeah.
He's a good guy, but that band, I don't know.
I know. I was just like, I don't even care. Why is this happening? Like,
Right.
you know, we should have gone down for somebody good, but no, we got in trouble for pulling tickets for Bon Jovi.
Oh my God.
I remember that.
So besides shows, what were you coming? What was drawing you to San Francisco?
I think it was just the freedom that I saw in San Francisco that you just don't really have, or I didn't have. I remember when I saw two men holding hands walking down the street, I almost just stopped. Like, you just don't see that at all.
In a good way.
Yes, of course. Sorry. In a good way.
Well.
I just was like,
Yeah.
that was so foreign to me, just to be like that open and that casual, that public. It's not a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal.
Right.
But growing up, it was, I don't even know in Modesto if you would see that now. If you
Right.
would see two men or two women walking down the street and holding hands.
Right. I think you said freedom, like or you saw people being free.
Well, just free, yeah.
Yeah.
Just free to do that and free to like be who you are. You definitely have these boxes, and if you don't fit into this box, it's just very isolating and very alone. And San Francisco that was just a whole different world.
Right. Okay. So then let's talk about what year was it that you came here?
I came here
For school, sounds like.
early 90s.
Okay.
It was after the earthquake. It was after
Okay.
the big Loma Prieta earthquake.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I remember meeting people at State who had been going to State or who were like in the dorms, like when that hit.
Okay.
So, and actually, I lived on campus, and one of the halls, I think it was Verducci, was so cracked in certain places that you could see into another person's room.
Oh, wow.
Like, here's a dorm room, here's a dorm room you could see in there.
So, like, you
they
don't
should
even need
not-
peepholes?
Yeah, you should not they should not have let people live in
No.
there at all.
Right.
And they didn't blow up or implode Verducci until like late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
So they let people live in that
Oh,
for
my God.
a while.
Do you think
Yes.
they're like, well, they're just kids, they're gonna do crazy shit anyway?
Or we just don't care, or we're going to pretend like we don't know it's happened, or, you know, I don't know.
And hindsight is 2020. Like they probably been like, well, we have to put the kids somewhere.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, be a very various reasons. I don't think that would happen now, but it definitely
Right.
was like, yeah, well, who cares?
Okay, what were some of your other early impressions? I'm thinking like, you know, especially out in the southwest part of town, it's very cold and foggy compared to where you're from.
Right. I've always loved the fog. I've always loved it being cool. Growing up again in Modesto, Central Valley, you're talking about like 100 to 104 degree weather all through summer.
Yep.
All through summer. So getting some fog, I loved it. I still
Nice.
do. I don't miss the heat. I don't miss the heat one bit.
Yeah. It's like a
So-
version of the grass is always greener. But
Yeah.
now you've been here 30 plus years and you still dig it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no problem with the fog at all.
I feel like a lot of it, nothing is, 100%, but it might be a transplant thing. Like, I love it too. I'm from Texas. It's very much not like that there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't miss the heat at all.
Yeah.
And then, just being so spoiled about the weather, it's usually between 55 and 75 degrees.
Totally,
so
always.
It's hard to give that up.
Kind of the best.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get here. How long were you at State?
I graduated.
Like 4 or 5 years kind of thing? Or did
I think
you take
my whole graduate was about 4.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. My whole graduate, my whole undergrad, thank you.
Yes.
Was about 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 4.5. Maybe I think I had an extra semester because I didn't take enough units or something didn't transfer over. But
that's my recurring nightmare.
I know.
Thank you. Trigger warning. No, but that's actually, 4.5 years is that's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what?
Then I hung out in San Francisco for a while. I was working in cafes, restaurants, and then I saved enough money and I bought a one-way ticket to Spain.
I definitely want to hear that, but I also, can you name drop some cafes and restaurants you worked at?
Just Desserts.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they still exist.
I don't know either.
I think you can get a Just Desserts cake, or they have some kind of random bakery here and there, but there used to be 4 or 5 cafes through the city.
And they had, didn't they have a van that was painted for deliveries?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to see, yeah.
Yeah.
They were you knew who they were. They were everywhere.
Yeah. So, right. So it was, Just Desserts Cafe, and then I worked in Neiman Marcus.
Oh, shit.
At the cafe in Neiman Marcus.
Okay.
So it was those two.
Making lattes for rich people.
Making lattes for rich people. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The people that worked at Neiman Marcus, they were lovely. They were great. Their customers and their clients weren't so great.
Right.
But they were nice. They were actually pretty nice. And I made really good money for making lattes and for rich people, so it was good.
Okay, and you were able, this is also, I think this speaks to a different time in San Francisco when you could do that.
Oh, you mean you could work one job in a cafe, save money, and then yes.
But you did say you bought a one-way ticket.
I bought a one-way ticket.
And where in Spain?
I landed in Madrid.
Okay.
Yes, so
let's hear that story. Because this is part of your story, and it's going to eventually lead to coming back.
Right. So I decided that it was time for me to go travel. I had finished with my degree. I'd worked. I'd saved money. I was going to go see the world. And I bought a one-way ticket, and I had a Eurorail pass. One of those.
Yes.
I don't know if those still exist, but I had
They might, but they're rail travel's super expensive now.
Oh, no. This was
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, it's because the low-cost airlines.
It sucks.
Yeah, rail travel, the best.
So I landed in Madrid, and I had a friend in Pamplona. So I stayed in Madrid for about 2 days, took the train to Pamplona, stayed with Luis and his friends for a while.
That's where they do the bulls, right?
The bull riding.
Or
yes.
It's famous for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a real small little town.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say a real small little town. It's a smaller town. It's a big university town.
Okay.
That's why Luis was there. He was studying at the university.
Mm-hmm.
And then through Luis, I remember this. 2 of his friends wanted to practice their English with me.
Okay.
So I went and stayed with his friend's family. I stayed with Belen's family, and I stayed with Mercedes' family. And it was something I did not expect, and it was so lovely. And the family took me in and fed me, paid for everything, washed my clothes, ironed my clothes, packed my clothes back in my backpack, which I was just don't do this because it's a backpack and they're going to be wrinkled like this. But they washed and ironed. I remember this. They were so sweet.
It goes beyond
kind.
hospitality. It's
for sure.
It goes beyond. It's You're like family or something.
It was like a real, I just was not expecting like to be like brought in in that kind of sense.
Well, it was a part of your trip that you didn't plan for, right?
No,
it just kind of happened.
It just happened.
And that's the best.
Exactly.
Did you already, and do you speak Spanish?
No.
Okay.
No and no. Both of my parents speak Spanish. And with both my parents, when they were growing up, they had older relatives in the houses, right in their homes. So both my mom and dad spoke Spanish, and then they spoke English. But like with me, that was not the case. So I learned English, and then that was it. And then my grandmother did try to teach me Spanish, but I was such a dick. I just was like, Grandma, I gotta go, and I bounced.
Right.
I didn't pay attention at all. And of course, I regret that because I could have been bilingual.
Right. You said you're a dick. I'd be like, I know what you mean, but also I feel like we're all just products of like the American fucking system where it's
Right.
like, we know English.
Yeah.
Everyone else knows it. It's like, yeah.
So anyways, and I'm not so sure if I had learned Spanish, it would have actually really helped me in Spain because it's a completely different type of Spanish.
Yeah. You must have picked up some when you were there.
Oh, for sure.
The basic Spanish.
For sure. You know, they do, or I think they do speak with a lisp, you know. Then you have the Catalan, which is completely different. So that's another part in the Basque country. Yeah, in the Basque country. So I was in Spain for about 2 months before I left to go to other parts of Europe. And at that time, after those 2 months, I really was much more confident and was really able to like get around.
Yeah.
Conversation, I still really struggled.
Sure.
But that was fine.
Yeah.
You know.
This was your first trip to Europe?
Yes.
First time in Europe. Okay. So how much longer were you?
The first time, so that whole trip was almost a year.
Okay.
So
with a backpack full of wrinkled clothes. No.
Yes, exactly.
But clean.
Clean, I know.
Clean but wrinkled. Where else did you go?
So let's see, gosh. This was Spain and Portugal, France, Austria, Czech Republic, Poland, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, the UK, Scotland.
Wow.
I should say England and Scotland. And then, yeah, I did fly back out of London.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another one-way ticket that I had no idea how I was going to pay for. So.
Yeah. And this is also that thing, I don't know if it happens to you, but you look back and you're like, I'm not sure how I actually did any of it. Like, how did I get an airplane ticket back then? Honestly, did I call?
Yeah. What I do...
Or go to the airport?
Yeah.
But
so
that's expensive.
This is what I do remember. So I bought the one-way ticket, and it definitely says, you know, well, I went from California to Newark, Newark to Madrid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So it said, that's all it says. So I get to the airport, and I get to Newark, and I'm checking in, and the counter lady person says, oh, you know what? They don't really like one-way tickets because they don't want you to stay in the country. You might have a problem.
Okay.
And I just was thinking, like, well, why did they sell it to me then?
Yeah.
Like, no one told me this could be an issue. No one told me anything.
Right.
So she just, like, you know, stamped it and was like, yeah, you could have a problem.
Oh. But here you go, kid.
There you go.
Wow.
So at the time, what you would do is, like, you had to fill out, like, you know, like airplane, like the name and the flight and the departure date. Right. So I remember walking to a payphone, because I had payphones.
Sure.
And I called, like, 1-800 American Airline.
Okay.
And
You did call the airline.
Yeah, I called the airline. I called a airline, whatever airline. And I said, you know, I need a ticket from Madrid to California. So they gave me all the information, like the airline, the date, and the number of the flight.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, cool, thanks, bye. Click. And then I was able to write that information
Oh, like your return. You
My
had
return.
the return.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because see, that was you could do that. You could
Yeah.
like call, talk to a human, and they would like, write your name, take your name down. And then you would be like, yeah, I'll come in to your office and pay for that, which obviously I was never going to do. But she already gave me the information. All I needed was that return flight.
Right.
Like a legitimate return flight.
Yep. You hear this, kids? This is how we did it back then.
But I remember thinking like, oh shit, like what am I going to do? Like
Right.
I can't go back home.
Yeah.
Like my world trip can't last one day.
No.
Like this is ridiculous.
No, there and back. Yeah. But then a year later,
I can come
you
home.
made it work.
Yeah.
And you came home from London. You came back to San Francisco.
I came back to San Francisco and I got a job at the Cadillac Bar,
Oh, yeah.
which is not there.
Not where it used to be.
It was the old one, Soma,
Right.
by Yerba Buena.
Yes.
And then I got another job, so I was working 2 jobs at once, doing a bunch of doubles. It was called Costalucci's in North Beach, and that's not there anymore.
Okay.
And then I worked in San Francisco. I lived in San Francisco, worked, and about a year later, I went to Australia.
Okay. The other way.
I went, yeah,
Did you have
completely
a
other way.
round trip ticket this time?
I did.
Did you use the internet yet? Or
Oh gosh.
it might have been too early.
I think I still had to call to make, I think I still was talking to humans.
Yeah.
I think, but what I did was, see, I didn't know this when I started traveling, but you can buy round the world tickets.
Yes, I've heard of these. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're open.
I don't know if they're still existing. I think they do, but they're open, right? So what I did was I didn't buy a round the world ticket, but I bought a South Pacific or an Oceania because I went from California to Fiji to Australia,
wow.
Australia to New Zealand, New Zealand to Fiji, Fiji back.
Okay.
So
You, like, island hopped.
yeah,
And
pretty
continent
much.
hopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So travel, big deal.
Yeah.
When did you start bartending? Was it one of those jobs
well,
in
when I was
between?
in
or?
Europe, I worked behind the bar.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't supposed to. I was backpacking. Everyone works illegal.
Sure.
That's we know the game.
Yeah.
So I started bartending in Europe
Okay.
because I needed to work. Like I
Right.
didn't have enough money to survive. I needed to work. And I also worked in another hostel in Belgium.
Okay.
So the bar that I worked at was in Bruges.
Mm-hmm.
And then Belgium, the capital is Brussels. God, my head. So I worked in those 2 places in Europe. By the time I got, again, to Australia, so you had to show a certain amount of money. So I couldn't fake that. I had to show a certain amount of money. Even though I was a round-trip ticket, I still had to show a certain amount of money.
Because it's like, what are they going to do? But between the time they get off the plane, and get back on the plane, what are they going to do?
Yes.
I guess that's the thinking.
Right. Well, because when I went to Australia, I applied for a visa because I was going to stay there longer than 3 months. So I
Right.
knew that I wanted to stay there longer than 3 months. So that's
Right.
why I had to show a certain amount of money.
Got it.
But when I was in Australia, I didn't have to work.
That's nice.
Yeah. I cut my trip a little bit shorter, but that was still fine. I was still fine with that.
You got to fuck off a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And New Zealand as well?
Yeah, New Zealand.
Did you have to work there?
I didn't have to work in New Zealand. New Zealand at the time, they had this bus called the Kiwi Express.
Okay.
And I don't know if it still is in operation. I hope it
I
is
hope it
because
is. That
it's
sounds
such a
fun.
it was such a good deal. It catered to backpackers, and it had like the North Island and then the South Island, or you could do both.
Oh.
So this big, huge green bus would show up at a hostel, and all the backpackers would get on this bus.
Oh, I love
and
it.
it would just take you to different parts, and you hopped on and hopped off. And it was just like really economical. It was awesome.
So fun.
Sometimes it would take you to bungee jumping because that was really big then. I don't know
Oh, yeah.
if it's-
Big old outdoor
Yes.
country.
Horseback riding, bungee jumping, whitewater rafting. The South Island is gorgeous. It's really beautiful. all of the valleys really remind me, actually, a lot of like Northern California, like wine country.
Big old mountains.
Yeah.
That was Boozenation Podcast's Traci Ramos. Check back Thursday for part 2 to hear all about Traci's return to the city. Look for that wherever you get podcasts. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Michelle Kilfeather does original photography for us. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 6th season, we have more than 200 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're able to, please rate and review the show, and drop us a line at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Keep rejecting those silly doom loop narratives about our city. Stay wacky, weird, healthy, and creative. And we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco. We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaitush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcasts.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.